Hey guys, what's up? So today I was thinking about how in the past I made that one Serena video about interracial relationships and whatnot. And last night I also went over some relationship talk a little bit. And then I also talked about, you know, what frustrates me. And then I also made that video about what makes my boyfriend awesome. So I couldn't help but think about if I have a preference for a certain race. And as much of a simple person as I am, this was kind of difficult to determine. So I actually had to physically sit down, think about it, and write down some things. So just so that I don't beat around the bush too much, this is what I had to say based on what I remember from the very first time that I remember liking boys up until now. So, yeah, let's dive into it. So, when I was much younger, like little, between ages 9 and 13 ish or 14 ish, I seemed to be attracted primarily to lighter skinned guys. Um, I remember when I would watch movies and I would see attractive actors, it was like I had a weaker spot for those who were lighter skinned. It wasn't me just being influenced in any way or whatever. It's just that when I was little and I would look into the future and imagine what my hot husband would look like, for some reason, I always saw him as a blonde guy with blue eyes, significantly taller than me, and built. Just built. Like, not really incredibly buff, but just in good shape. And I came close to meeting a guy who closely resembled those characteristics when I was 16 years old, but it was just someone who I had met through my brother. But it wasn't like we could date or anything because this guy was God knows how much older than me. But it's just the closest encounter to what I imagined from when I was a kid that I had. But at the time I didn't think of it that way because my mind was just elsewhere at the time, but it's just a memory that I have. Then between the ages 14ish through 15ish, I had a weaker spot for like Hispanic guys or that kind of skin tone. Like, and you guys know the characteristics, physical traits of the Hispanic community. I hope so. And what made me say that is probably that at around this time is when I was dating a Hispanic guy. So, of course, you can see the traits, and during that time, because of the folks who I used to know from where I lived at, I had a further exposure. But at the same time, once we split up, I really didn't have much contact with the community anymore. So it was kind of a strange thing. However, prior to that, before I even met my boyfriend during this time, at age 14, I remember having a crush on an Asian guy. And this guy was from India. And I just remember him being handsome. He was immensely tall, though, very easily 6 foot, like six. God, how much did he? Probably, let's say 6'3". That's my biggest guess, which is pretty darn tall for someone who's like 15, at least by my standards. But anyway, I just randomly remembered that. This guy never knew that I felt that way about him. Um, and then from age 16 through 19, once again, I had that weak spot for light-skinned guys. Um, but it was only mainly crushes, like visual crushes. It's not like I met a guy who I could look at and be like, oh yeah, I can definitely see you as material for me to date. It was just, hey, this guy has some features, he's in shape, or he just looked fine in my eyes, period. And it doesn't help that my family has a lot of people who are super attractive and they also have these features like having colored eyes and lighter skin. So it, I guess that's what generated this conflict inside of me, because I always thought, wow, I come from a privileged family where everybody just looks great. Um, but here I am looking like the oddball, and my brother too. But but then when I got over those crushes, it was like from age 19 until present. Um, I've been more open with all kinds of crushes, and what I mean by me being more open is not that I was purposefully focusing on a specific race. It's just that I am seeing that my heart really doesn't seem to discriminate, because I have had various crushes of guys who have had like different traits. And I've fallen for some brothers. I am currently with a brother. And I have also seen two Asian guys who I have deeply admired. And then, of course, the light skinned folks are still, I find some of them to be pretty fine. But yeah, you guys, I know my response is not really that straightforward, but to finally just settle it, whatever I see that I like, I just go for it. All right. So it's not like I am deliberately telling myself, oh, I want to find a black man. I want to find a white guy. I want to find a Hispanic, an Asian, and a European, South American, anything like that. Not really. I have just seen some guys who I'm like, hey, your traits stand out to me. And this is just physical. All right. So the moment that I speak to one of these guys, rather, if their personality or their conduct isn't that nice, their physical traits will go to hell at that very instant. So this is not really what I go by to pick up a date. It has to be, we have spoken, we have something in common, something that could probably make us be cool together, but it's never on the basis of physical attraction. Like, that is not the deciding factor. It does enhance the experience somewhat, because it's nice to be with someone who you enjoy just on plain sight. But at the same time, I have met folks who, for me, it's like, wow, they look divine. But the moment that we interacted, it was like, oh, stop. No, this cannot take place, because inside you're evil. So that killed it for me. And well, you guys, that is really all that I had to say on this matter. I hope that I made myself clear. And keep in mind that a lot of this happened when I was still like growing up and my neurons were still developing. So I've definitely come a long way since all of this, and definitely matured. So what do you guys have to say? Do you guys have a preference? Have you ever thought about this? Or are you like me? You're like, whatever your eyes see, you're captivated, you check them out, but at the same time, you retreat if their attitude is no bueno. So yeah, you guys, just let me know your thoughts, because I would love to hear what the experiences that you guys have had and see how they compare to mine, because I find that stuff to be pretty fun. Alright guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I shall see you soon.